economically, the world is shifting away from the United States. I think that people in the US kind of know this, but as somebody that is living abroad and who works as a journalist, I am privy to a lot of information that I've been dropping on here by in little bits. But I think because of the state of journalism in the United States right now, which is where most of the publications that I work for are, and how certain kinds of information aren't getting the reach or the access to actually being published that they used to, I am probably going to try to share a little bit more on here. And I'm going to start off with this. So as a lot of you know, within the journalism space, I consider myself specifically a hospitality journalist. I talk about the politics, more specifically, of hospitality, not necessarily, ooh, this is a fun place to eat, this is a fun place to drink. Well, yes, that might be true and is likely true. I like talking about the whys. Why what we eat, what we drink, and where we go are all inherently political. At its base, internationally, does not matter where you are. Every plate of food, every trip, to me, is a story of the haves and the have-nots through different dynasties, through different socioeconomic groups, through different races, through it's all a story. And I am interested in sharing those stories, those histories, where things have come from, and where things are potentially going, and the pattern recognitions of all of that. So for those of you who are more new here than some other folks, some of my work has gotten me international nominations for 2 years in a row. My most recent nomination, I'll include the link to that article right over here, or the video where I do a little bit more of a deep dive on it right over here. I was encouraged gently to leave the United States because while I did not win the award that I was nominated for, the article shook up enough. It hit the base of the tree hard enough to be like, hey, Shayna, if you want to keep doing this kind of work, it might be better to do it from a consistently safe distance outside of the US. So I moved to Thailand. I moved to Thailand for a number of reasons. One of the big reasons is because I was able to apply for a 5-year visa. I have got it. I am currently living in Bangkok. And since I have moved to Bangkok, I have had the ability to meet and visit and talk to people who work in the beverage industry in the Asian market and in the African market. And a thing that I have consistently been seeing is that within the beverage sphere, businesses, organizations, companies, not distillers, distributors, a lot of people are moving away from the United States. So before I dive in and share some of the numbers and also some things that people, things that people have shared with me about the move away from the United States and what my projections are for how I consider the hospitality industry to be one of the canaries in the coal mine for what is happening in the US right now and the economic destabilization and how wide-reaching and long-term this will be for the US. So, with that in mind, if you are interested in getting out or in getting information on how to get out, head over to Black Babes Abroad. I've been talking about it a lot on here because I've been getting more and more emails for people asking me questions like, hey, Shayna, I'm scared. Hey, Shayna, I don't know what to do. Hey, Shayna, where do I go? Hey, Shayna, where's the top places for insert specific living situation here? Just head over there. There's a lot of resources, a lot of articles. If you have more specific questions, I or Candace will be able to address them or write a more extensive article answering your specific questions. So please just go over there. There's already well over 1,000, I think over 1,000, close to 1,400 people right now in community. So links up above and links in the description. Okay, now here's some of the numbers. So we're going to start off with the coffee industry. So the 2 countries that I have been spending the most time in lately have been Kenya and Thailand. And both countries are known for being very coffee forward, have very rich coffee history. So I'm going to focus right now on just Thailand, right? So before we start off on Thailand, here's a little bit more background. So I'll be including the links for all of this below. So when it comes to the United States spends about $8.8 billion in coffee, or has spent $8.8 billion in coffee in 2024. Oop, and we're back. With Colombia, Brazil, and Switzerland accounting for over half of that money. Now, there are a number of other not companies, countries that contribute to basically the 4.4 billion. Thailand is not a big, while the Thai coffee industry is very big in Asia, especially among luxury coffee lovers. Like there are luxury coffee auctions, there are like internationally renowned coffee competitions here. People travel to Thailand specifically for coffee. I'm hoping to do more writing about that in the future. We will see. But when it comes to shipping to the United States, the Thailand has a much smaller cut of this multi-billion-dollar industry. More specifically, when it comes to the US, the Thailand makes about, give or take, $600,000. There are other countries that make much more off of Thai coffee. So while it is a smaller percentage, it is still a strong indicator because I have had the opportunity to meet the cafe culture here is alive and thriving. Now, there's not a lot where I am in central Thailand. There's not a lot of roasters. There's not, obviously, the coffee production is very big in the north, and there are some southern regions that also make really good coffee beans. But the heart, I would say personally, what it seems of Thai coffee culture is in the north around the Chiang Mai area. And that also includes like cafe culture, but there's also a thriving cafe scene here. I had the opportunity of meeting with one of the only roasters in not in Thailand, in Bangkok. And she was speaking about how she and her company have made the decision to start moving away from US markets. And she is not the only person that I've heard talking about this. I've also spoken to some hoteliers that have been talking about when it comes to their wine, when it comes to and this actually leads more into South Africa. Well, I haven't been to South Africa this year. I was in South Africa last year. And I randomly came into a whole group there was a beverage festival that was happening here in Thailand, including some pictures here. And I met with some winemakers, black winemakers more specifically, from South Africa who came to Thailand. And I was like, oh my gosh, you guys are, hey family. So we're yip yapping. And at some point, the conversation switches to the tariff situation in the US, the current politics in the US. And while they still have some clients in the US, they decided to start investing more and in growing a greater presence in Asia because one, the wine industry, more specifically in Bangkok, is alive and thriving. The wine industry here is thriving. And because of everything that's going on in the US, winemakers are also like, where our larger audiences were, we need to start finding other audiences that are more stable. So there is a global disinvestment, de-investment, there we go, from the United States. And this is just within the beverage industry. I think that people in bars, in wine bars, in cocktail bars, like we're going to start seeing a lot of Shayna, you don't want, I'm speculating. But I do think that what is going to be available or the prices of what will be available is going to skyrocket I don't know around how long, and I don't want to speculate on exact timings, but I am just seeing and this is also happening in Kenya when it comes to the coffee industry there. Kenyan coffee beans, when I was in New York, everybody loved themselves a Kenyan bean. And when I was over there, I got to speak to two, maybe three roasters there, and only one of them were like, oh yeah, we are determined on no matter what trying to remain open to staying in the United States. Mind you, they have already started to create business ties to the UK and to Asia as a just in case. And I'm like, people don't know that these big moves are happening internationally. And I've said this multiple times in a different way on this platform, but in the same way where it's like, hey, listen, we don't have time for the men to catch up. So that way we could have like things are happening to women, to queer people, to marginalized people, and we can't baby a lot of the privileged class, whether that is men, whether that is white people, whether that's whatever, to be like, oh no, you're still so da 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 da. And like we are in a like a 401 level course of how our lives are being affected negatively. And they're trying to catch up to get their ABCs in order. We literally do not have time to catch them up. Either get a book, study, go for the office hours, like teach yourself how to read and write, and then eventually join us, or the world is going to progress without you. This is the exact same conversation, unfortunately, that a lot of, unfortunately for like US citizens, myself included, because a lot of what I do is also connected to the US dollar. This is what the world is moving on. The world does not have time for the United States to hopefully catch up, to hopefully become a stable society again, to hopefully become the quote unquote leaders of the new world or the whatever. Like I've made videos about this. I'll include it right up here where, Marvel is moving out of the United States. Celebrities are moving out of the United States. Entertainment industry icons are making moves out of the United States. People don't have not. I guess people, like countries, are just collections of people, but the United States is falling behind. And that is going to hit economically very hard. And this leads me back to a conversation where in World War II, a lot of the people that stayed into the mayhem, by the time that they were like, okay, actually, we are not able to stay. Like, it is dangerous for us to stay. We got to get out of here now. We'll get out with whatever we can. They had to leave somewhere between like 70 to 90%. They lost 70 to 90% of what it is that they owned. And I was wondering, because there's a lot of overlap between what is happening in the US now and then what happened in Germany in the 1940s, 30s, 40s. I'm like, what is that overlap going to look like? And I think that the destabilization of the US dollar, I think that, and the divestment away from a lot that's happening in the I think that this is where where it's really going to hit, because even here in Thailand, the US dollar is not as strong as it was. In Europe, the US dollar is not as strong as it was. The currency rate is not converting the way that it used to. I'm seeing more specifically like steady dips in the currency rate. And I can't even say I specifically. Anybody that uses the US dollar here is noticing it. So where once upon a time, $100 would be able to get you X amount of things, that $100 is going to start looking more like 70. It's starting to look more like 75. And that $100 that you still worked for that $100, starting to look more like 50. It's going to start looking more like 35. It's going to start looking more like, I don't know, 25. Like, that is how that 70 to 90% loss is going to show up. I don't necessarily have an answer for folks that are, no, I do have an answer. Listen, I'm not saying moving abroad is for everybody. It's not for everybody. For funsies anyway, it's not for everybody. I knew that the US was not my home. I knew that it was not the place that I wanted to create roots in. It just never felt like that for me. So I wanted to leave long before any of this really started happening. Moving abroad for security, for safety, for stability, that's going to include a lot more people. The ability to do so before it is either impossible to do so or incredibly, incredibly difficult to do so. Like, there are some countries that are having conversations about opening up versions of refugee statuses for places that argue, depending on what your demo is, we might be seeing a lot of that. A lot of countries being like, hey, US refugees, you want to make your way over here? Yeah. And I'm really trying to word things in a way that is not going to make a lot of people anxious. I'm also just seeing too much. in much lighter news, also decentering men is starting to really show up economically in the hospitality industry. I had a conversation with a hotelier. A hotelier? Was it the hotelier or was it the? No, no, no. It was the general manager of a hotel that I visited here in Thailand. And they were saying that they are seeing significantly less bookings for like weddings, honeymoons, and stuff like that. But they are seeing a lot more friendship vacations, like people booking villas with like 4 or 5 friends. And I'm like, ooh, that's fun. I like this. So like the decentering of like romantic relationships and the prioritization of platonic relationships and investing into that as it relates to your joy, your activities, your adventures. We're seeing a lot more of that too. So it's nice to know. It's not, that's nice to see. That makes me happy. Had to put a little bit of levity into this rather serious conversation. So I think those are all of my thoughts right now. Please feel free to leave yours in the comment section. It's I'm trying to catch up on the comments in different videos. They are kind of running away with me in that there's not enough time in the day, and I do enjoy having a life outside of being on the computer. But I read as many as I can, and I respond to as many as I can. So all that being said, please stay safe out there, stay sane out there. Yeah.